And I think that one of the gifts and the blessings of being an American, whether it be a citizen or you was born as an American, is the fact that you can be who you want to be, right? And that's what this country has been built off of. You can be exactly who you want to be. So I don't want anybody to apologize for who they are, right? But at the same time, I'm not going to force you to accept my ideology, and you're definitely not going to force me to accept yours.
Yo, 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 this is JO Segura.
It's your boy Mazzi.
And we're back better than ever with the first new episode in the season 3 of...
Oh, you want me to say it? B.O.B.O, best of both offices. It's not a podcast. It's not your regular type of show. It's a laid back talk show where we get to the cracks and crevices and the nooks and crannies of everything. You know what I mean?
Of culture. We are culture trendsetters, if anything. So Mazzi, Who do we got today, man, as our special guest?
Listen, man, we got a brother that I recently got to know, and it's been an honor to learn from him and hear his speeches and just the way he presents everything. His name is Hanif J. Williams. Welcome, my brother.
Oh man, peace and blessings to you, JO, and also my brother Mazzi and everybody out there. I'm so grateful to be here, and can't wait to have this convo.
And you know, and shout out to DefJam Recordings all the time, holding us down, and allowing us to rock and roll, man. So yo, let's get started, man. You know, today's topic is Islamophobia. It's been an issue. Some people think it's been an issue since 9/11, but it's actually been going on for decades in the United States, especially. So you know, I wanted to bring an American Muslim who knows what time it is to really, you know, break things down and explain it to us and explain it to those who might not get the full scope of it. You know what I'm saying? So my brother Hanif, give us a little, you know, background on yourself.
Yeah. So first again, all praise and thanks is due to the Almighty Creator. We send peace and salutations upon Prophet Muhammad. May peace and blessings be upon him. Just really quick about me. I'm just your regular from South Jersey. You know, I grew up around the culture. I don't want people to think that the Kufi and the fact that I'm fluent in Arabic is going to take me outside of the culture. I know what's going on. I know I was on that string of being string along with when Kanye wasn't dropping Donda. So I don't want people to think that, you know what I mean, that I'm not definitely into the culture. With me, you know, had the opportunity really to study with my father. I had a really, really good scholar by the name of Sheikh Al-Kasha. Young man, he was really helped me out with formatting a religion. But overall, it's been my ability to be able to tie in the sacred text with the current times. And so that's what I do. Of course, I run my own business. I've been grateful enough to be really successful with that. I have my 2 nonprofits. I mentor, I don't know how many youth I've mentored over my career. I don't know, close to 600-700 maybe. And so I retired from my mentoring last year on my birthday, which is August 28th, which is just a few.
Nice. Virgo season. Yeah. I just celebrated a born last week, so salute, King.
Get the heck out of here, man. Happy born day to you.
Thank you. September 1st.
Hey, how many orbits around the sun, man?
39.
Oh man, you it's about to get real now.
I know. I see how Mazzi's living now, so I could have some testament there. Thinking
listen, y'all old. I don't know what you're talking about. Y'all are old, man.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, listen. Right at 39, you start to say, "All right, I'm cool enough, but I'm not gonna put no buckles on my sneakers."
100%. You're right about that one. Like, do you remember Buster Brown's back in the day with the penny loafers with the pennies? I ain't gonna put no pennies in my loafers.
Oh man. Yes. You took it all the way back with that. What's funny is that I had a pair of those and I hated them, but I didn't realize the value of them until I seen a billionaire with some on. He didn't have pennies in his though, but he had one on. And I said, okay, my grandmother was on the right. She had the right state of mind.
Right. I'm doing some fresh. I think I might have to go pull them out. Mazzi, I'll get you a pair. Send me your size.
Please, I'm good with my Nikes and my Adidas, man.
I'm trying to get Mazzi with the hard bottom.
Unless you got some K-Swiss, then we'll talk. You know what I'm saying?
Nah, they sponsor this segment, so go ahead, brother Hanif.
Oh man, go ahead, Hanif.
So that's basically what I do. I've been able to I'm a novelty. I have a lot of intersectionality. Obviously, Black men speak the language fluently, Arabic. I really appreciate the culture. I like contemporary issues. I'm just a lover of everybody. I love the people that nobody else will. So you'll always see me around the people who maybe not have, have the American dream has been a nightmare for them, right? And I try to get them to not only look at the shores of their realities, but also the horizon of their hope. So for me, I've been able to really touch base with so many people. I cannot tell you how many people, even from the LGBT community, who listen to my lectures. You got people from the atheist community that listen to my lectures, people from obviously my Jewish brothers and sisters and neighbors that listen to my lectures. And I think that everybody walks away with something that can add value to their life.
No, I was gonna say, so Brother Hanif, how is one get the misconception of Islam here in America, where in America, not unfortunately, but it's a predominantly Christian state, right? And you have a lot of these states in the US that are like toting like, yo, Christian, no, we don't this, or ready to go to war overseas because of brothers that are Muslim. How is that like difficult for you, being Muslim here in America, and just that perception that America has of Muslims, hence the topic of it being Islamophobia?
Yeah, I think that's a really good question, JO, and that shows really your journalistic integrity of asking a really difficult question from the outset, right? And I think that's really awesome. Number one, I think my experience is a little insulated because my parents are not immigrants from here. Obviously, my father, he was a Christian first, and then he reverted when he was 19 years old. And then as a result of that, all of my siblings are Muslims. But there are some common challenges that we do share. One of them is the fact that obviously, 90% of the women in my family, they wear the hijab, which is the head covering. So to be able to navigate that in America, I think the difficulty, 9/11 created some difficulties. We're a little bit over 72 hours from the 20th anniversary of 9/11. That's a few blocks from where you guys are at right now. One of the things that I think is really cool is the fact that I do live in America. It just is you do have freedom of choice here. But I think that when people read about Islam, it's really just black and white. And you just have to really speak to somebody who's actually living that experience. And for me, the difficulties have been obviously, my family, the women in my family, they're visibly Muslims. We live below the Mason-Dixon line. So you have a hijab, and then you have the Confederate flag. I mean, so how do you bring those two realities together, right? They're complete opposites, right? And so the hatred you could feel the hatred. But in a general sense, I think that it comes from education, JL. I think the education is more important than anything. So great question.
No, I agree 100%. Go ahead, Maz. I know you had a question.
Right before this, you said that you were able to connect with, you've spoken and been able to connect with different cultures and groups. What bridge were you able to form to be able to, speak their language, and connect with them and have them find a common playing ground when you speak?
I think that me being a Black man in America, right? And you have to know the culture if you're going to speak to the people, right? You have to know what is the culture, right? The culture, hip hop made everything cool, right? Hip hop made everything fly. But I think that it's been being able to really understand the culture and also look at the text and not compromise one of the two. Because a lot of times what you happen with a lot of imams, and I have imams in quotations, and scholars, they seem like they're a little bit, they're just not relatable. They don't know the language, literally and also figuratively. They just don't know the language. So I've just been able to be fluent with the language of the culture, and I pay attention to what's going on. I mean, I don't listen to music like every day because it's just something that I don't do. But I'm aware of what's going on. I'm aware that Meek Mills and Lil Baby and Lil Durk they released a song, and so I'm aware of all of that. And it's important for me to have my thumb on the pulse of the culture. So when I do finally speak to the youth, and that's 90% of my audience is the youth, then they say, you know what, he's relatable, but at the same time, he is giving us some sacred knowledge.
Right, now it's powerful. So when it comes to Islamophobia, just in general, what does that even mean? And how do we actually begin to break that word down so that it's not a phobia, right? Where, because you mentioned something earlier about education, right? And knowledge, right? And we all know that knowledge, wisdom, and understanding is a triple braided cord, right? They work in tandem no matter what religion, Judaism, Christianity, Islam, right? That's a one good common thing that we could say amongst in a second point. But how do we break that stigmata, right? How do we educate those that are listening to be able to put change a light switch in their head and pay respect? You know what I mean? I'm Christian, Mazzi's Muslim. We're here doing a podcast together. It's love. I got love for Mazzi. I got love for my Islam brothers and sisters, right? Because I understand the culture. You know, I don't fully grasp it because I don't speak Arabic. There's probably a lot of layers to it. And I always feel like one thing that makes people run away is because it's the language issue, right? Like when somebody hearing Arabic, they think you're casting demonic thoughts on them or words, right? Like I'm just saying, you know what I mean? Like this to be realistic, right? Like, but I don't understand it. My aunt, went to Egypt. She's Muslim, right? She went to Egypt for several years and she's Muslim. She's living back in San Francisco and she gets this misconception all the time, right? But I love her. I love her where she is. She's my aunt and I'm gonna always be dear to her. I'm gonna pray for her. I'm gonna give her whatever she needs, whenever she needs. It has nothing to do with religion. My common denominator is love. And you mentioned something like that earlier. So how do we break that stigmata, Brother Hanif, and make those changes and strides here in America and possibly globally?
Hey, Jo, another good question. I echo your same sentiments. Number one is that, so phobia is a fear of that. So it's the fear of Islam, right? And so for someone that has a interaction with an actual Muslim, I would probably say a large percent of Americans are going to have a pretty good experience. And there's a few things. Let's look at the things that we have in common, right? Number one, the American dream is to be success, to pursue the happiness, to live a higher quality of life, right? I believe that everyone, whether it be our Jewish neighbors, our Christian brothers and sisters like yourself, Muslims like myself, my neighbors that are right next door, he's a surgeon. I believe he's a Buddhist. I believe that we all have the same common goal, which is success, happiness, and of course, pursuing the American dream, being able to make as much money as you possibly can imagine, and at least having an opportunity of that. As far as the phobia goes, you have to be able to ask people, what are you exactly afraid of? What needs to be explained to you? And I believe that intentional questions get intentional answers. And I think that sometimes people just don't know, right? What did Nas say? Nas say, people hate what they don't understand, right? I think it's one of the quotes from Hate Me Now when he did with Diddy, right? I think that's what he said. And I think that that's so important for us to try to understand what we are actually fearful of, right? And then when it's explained to you, say, well, you know what? It's ignorance, and it's not ignorance of me not knowing of actually what this is exactly about. Again, if I was to say Assalamu alaikum to you, I'm simply saying, may peace and blessings be upon you, right? And just say, okay, what exactly are you saying, right? And so I think we need to really just simplify it, and it's not as complicated as we're making it seem. But there is an Islamophobia that is real, because we do have people, and I would be remiss if I don't acknowledge that we do have Muslims who are extreme and they want to hurt people. I mean, we have to be honest with that.
But we also have Christians in America that want to hurt people, that believe that what they're doing, you know what I'm saying, is accurate and is right based upon their being in connection to God, which is inaccurate for me. You know what I mean? When you look at the KKK, right? Or you look at, I mean, I'm gonna use this like white Christian settlers, right? When they come and they try to say that this is what you've done, or I call them colonizers, right? Christian colonizers, right? And listen, I respect certain aspects of it, but there's a point where when you try to manipulate for harm of a community or people, it's not fair for, you know what I'm saying? It's not fair for that community. Like, you're beating them in the head. Like, imagine if that was how you approach Islam to your neighbors and everybody around you. Yes, they would be fearful as hell. Like, no, I don't want this quote unquote, they don't want terrorists in here, but there's American terrorists that are touting Christianity. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, right. It's weird, and it's a weird dynamic, and it's like a not a double-edged sword, but it's like a I forgot the word, but it's not cool. It's whack. Like, and I'm not cool with that, brother.
Yeah. Like I said, I'm with you, and I think that you actually you camel backed off me when you actually mentioned that there are people from other different groups that have extreme people too. But we just need to not look at that particular people. My overall experience with my Christian brothers and sisters and my Jewish neighbors has been, I don't think I have probably any negative thoughts about them or my own self.
Yeah.
So, but if I see someone that that has a Nazi flag that is trying to, you know, take over, I know that that person does not represent the large majority of Christians, not only in America but in the world. And number two is that I know that those people are extreme, and they probably are not religious in their own self, right? The person that doesn't have those type of extreme ideologies and is less religious than them is probably following the book, if you will, more closely than the person that says that they are.
Yeah, that's powerful.
Now, you know, a large portion of Islamophobia stems from the media, and the media perpetuating things that are going on overseas, or even things that are happening domestically. So how, you know, again, that's one of the things that aids to Islamophobia. How do you that, along with other challenges that you've been faced with, how do you combat those challenges, when those negative challenges, when they come your way, and into the way of your community?
Brother Mazzi, that's a very good question, brother. One of the things about the media, you have to understand, everything that the media reports is that it makes them money. So Islamophobia, as far as the media goes, it's $1 billion industry, right? So of course they're going to the hyper visibility of an Islam extremist, right, is what you're going to see more. And so one of the things that we have done over the past 10 years, really, really good, that I love the culture about, is the fact that we've been creating our own content. I don't know the last time I actually watched CNN to get the drop, right? I don't know what's the last time I've done that. I get the drop on the Shade Room. I get the drop on my timeline, because it's the people that are creating the content. You have to remember, even with George Floyd, remember, it was the Somali community that shared that. It was a Black woman who actually shared it, but it was the Somali community that actually amplified that, because Minnesota, that particular area of the country, is ran by the Somali brothers and sisters. So I just want to, I really appreciate us just now. We have the narrative, we're our own media, number one. Number two is one of the things that we have to combat, we have to first have unity amongst ourselves. You have to see me standing next to somebody who's completely opposite of me, right? I think we can't have echo chambers, right? We have to, especially when it comes to, like you mentioned, the powers that be, trying to, put them in their proper place, if you will, right? In a very, very diplomatic type of way. So I think it's education. It's creating our own narrative and our own content that we have seen probably the past 10 years. We have seen that we creating everything. And then number three would be making sure that we are giving people the right information at the right time. Because you could be on the wrong train, you know what I mean, heading to the right city, and you're still not going to get to the right destination. So it's the right time. It has to be the right person doing it. And it's also have to have the support of the people.
Okay. Now, you said handling it in a diplomatic way. Now, there's a thin line between doing that and being a Muslim apologist, right? Mm-hmm. And there has to be a balance, and there has to be a place where we draw the line. I'm gonna give you an example. A few years after 9/11, I got pulled over, and I had a $27 surcharge on a seatbelt ticket that I never paid. Didn't know about it. It was years prior. I paid the seatbelt ticket. I never paid the $27 surcharge that I didn't even know about. Long story short, I get locked up for $27. Throw me in central booking. I'm in a cell with 30 people. They come by, and when they're processing people, they come by with a little machine, right? And they're like, all right, what's your name? What's your date of birth? What's your ethnicity? Without even knowing, or what's your nationality, I think. Without even knowing, I said Iranian. Mind you, I'm an American citizen, but just I was born in Iran, so that's what I said. Within 30 minutes, I was taken out of that cell and put into a cell by myself and interrogated by 2 detectives for hours and left there for hours and spent maybe for a seatbelt ticket, maybe almost three or 4 days in jail for that. But what they were asking me was they were interrogating me and grilling me about being a sleeper cell.
Mm. Wow.
and I was like, my man, one of them was Asian. I said, my man, you're an immigrant like me. We both, due to our accents alone, we were raised in the New York area. What are you talking about? I was locked up for a $27 surcharge on a seatbelt ticket.
Oh my gosh.
You see what I'm saying? So that day, before that, I would speak to, people and be like, no, we're this, Islam is not that. It's this very, very soft spoken. After that day, I was the least apologist ever. Like, yeah. I was like, this is what I am, Mr. XYZ or Miss XYZ. Take it or leave it. Go kick rocks. You know what I'm saying? So that's what brought me to that level. You know what I'm saying? So what advice do you give to people to where to draw the line, or actually, how do you handle it to not be an apologist?
Yeah, well, first I'll handle it. Everybody knows that in all of my bios that people have, they call me the unapologetic Muslim, right? And I want people, just like people who are patriots, right? They are unapologetic Americans, right? And I think that one of the gifts and the blessings of being an American, whether it be a citizen or you was born as an American, is the fact that you can be who you want to be, right? And that's what this country has been built off of. You can be exactly who you want to be. So I don't want anybody to apologize for who they are, right? But at the same time, I'm not going to force you to accept my ideology, and you're definitely not going to force me to accept yours. So there is an invisible line of respect. There's an invisible line of respect that we cannot cross, none of us. But at the same time, when people start apologizing, that means that they're not their actual self, right? And so that's so important for us to make sure that we are not compromising our religious beliefs. We're not compromising our freedom of thought, our stream of consciousness, none of that. And that's what makes us so great. This is why we're the greatest country on the face of the earth, right? Because we can express ourselves, but at the same time, not oppressing others. But if you're making me feel less than a Muslim, or less than, whatever denomination that I want to acknowledge, right? That means that you are essentially, number one, you are impeding on my freedom of speech. Number two, am I right of religion, right? And you're also, this is tyranny. This is, you're being a tyrant to me, right? I should be able to do what I want as long as I'm not hurting anyone in the process of my pursuit.
Have you watched the show Godfather of Harlem yet?
Yes, I have. I'm a huge fan of this. I think
great show.
Yeah, I bring it up because you mentioned something earlier about having the unlikely partners, right? Like an unlikely person that you're working with in the community through faith. But the relationship between Brother Malcolm and Bumpy, right? Like, and how he helped Bumpy's daughter transcend, get out healed, right? From her addiction to heroin at the time, especially in the time in Harlem and in New York and the country that was just ravaging our communities, to where they became friends. I don't know if you saw the ending of this past season. If you did, have you guys? Thumbs up, maybe? Yes?
You can go ahead. I think I'm on the last episode, but go ahead.
All right, well, there's spoiler alert, so anybody who hasn't seen it, but there's an ending piece where there's the picture of Malcolm, right? The classic picture with him with the gun at the window, right? But the way they ended it was Malcolm and Bumpy together. Bumpy was on the other side of Brother Malcolm, right? In that picture. And for me, that's like, I referenced that point in what you just said about the unlikely partnership, right? Of a brother in this country, because Malcolm learned what he needed to learn to have his own decision, and he saw what he had to see. Bumpy was going through what he was going through to see what he needed to see, but he was there for Brother Malcolm, right? Because at the end of the day, he knew that he was holding his daughter down, and he's gonna ride or die for him. So I guess I'm only referencing that because it made me think of what you just recently said, and how that's the most unlikely partnership you can see, because I never knew a lot of the story that was coming from that narrative, right? At all. I didn't know that Bumpy and Malcolm were cool. Yeah, I didn't know that he helped Malcolm. I didn't know Malcolm helped Bumpy. So it's just interesting because I feel like we need more, like, where are those leaders that transcend, right, culture, right? Because Brother Malcolm and Brother Martin, they were going to connect at some point, right? But Martin, unfortunately, was assassinated. Then later on, Malcolm was assassinated. So we lost two massive leaders across both sides of the aisle. They found an intersecting point together, right, to help build the common denominator or common goal for the Black community and minorities, me being Afro-Latino. So it's like, where do we see that today? Where can and how can we build those bridges and those intersecting points, my brother, to be able to build the unification of what God has always intended? You know what I'm saying? For us to be together in unison and harmony, regardless of the religion, you know what I'm saying? Like, regardless of your language, right? Regardless of your color, your creed, like, unfortunately. So I'm just curious on your thoughts on that.
Yeah, first of all, I think it's a great history lesson that you gave us, Jo, as far as Bumpy and as far as Brother Malcolm, who's a hero of mine and a hero to so many people. I think is, again, what you just mentioned is the meeting on common ground, right? Being able to see normally what we do just by the human psyche is that we judge books by its cover, even though we aren't supposed to. We taught that through grade school. That's one of the things that, it's not true, right? We do judge books by its cover. And so we start to see what type of person is this. We start to basically dissect people and the differences, right? And we don't never look and say, you know what? This person likes sports. This person likes LeBron James. This person thinks that LeBron James is better than KD. They never will say KD's the GOAT, right? I mean, so all of these things. So
not yet, Brother Hanif.
Oh yeah.
He gotta win a couple of chips in Brooklyn.
he's got to win a couple of chips, and he has to. There's a lot of things that KD has to do. I mean, LeBron is in a different. I think they're in two completely different galaxies. I mean, but KD has a lot to do as far as, being at that level with LBJ. But LBJ, when it's all said and done, I mean, if he breaks Jabbar's record, I mean, at that point, it's like he's filled up everything on the stat sheet, right? And this is somebody who actually passes first and shoots second, right? Just think about that for a minute, and all of the shooters did not break Jabbar's record. And I know my cousin Ishaq is going to like the fact that I'm talking about LeBron, because he thinks LeBron is better than Jordan, but that's a whole totally different conversation.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's a whole different debate. That's a different podcast.
So it's about just, Brother Jo, it's about meeting on common ground and talking about those similarities, right? Because if you start talking about differences, one difference can divide an entire nation. You know what I mean? You can say, okay, well, this person has that, and so one difference can divide an entire nation. And speaking about Martin and Malcolm, Martin Luther King was at Malcolm X was at I believe it was at a speech either of MLK or of Coretta Scott, and he was sitting in the front row, and he, I believe, gave a speech, and he was being, his animated self, and he went over to Coretta Scott King. A lot of people don't know this story, and he whispered in her ear. He was basically like, I'm doing you a favor. And what he was saying that I'm acting like I'm like this for a reason, because what your husband is doing, he needs to do that. We can't have two of me. But of course, the last 36 months of MLK's life, he actually became even more zealous than actually than Martin did, because that's when he said that, I think I led my people to a burning house. So again, the idea of they started to come together as their similarities. And when you have that, you have so much power. And then, of course, the powers that be, and that, we want to be careful what we say with this. They said these two men cannot be alive at the same time. They have to go, and it's simply because of the reach that Malcolm X was having on a global scale. And then you have MLK. Basically, he's no longer turning his cheek anymore. Yeah. So it's like, wait a minute, they are basically going to get on the same page. We can't have this, so both of them have to go. So again, it's finding that common ground, because there's power in our commonality.
Are there any leaders today in Islam that you feel that are doing it well to build the bridge and intersection here in America in the 21st century with other like-minded brothers, whether it's from different faiths?
I think Umar Suleiman is doing a really good job.
Yeah.
Umar Suleiman, I think he's really doing a good job. That's my baby brother. I think he's doing a good job. I think Sheikh Shadid Mohammed is doing a good job as far as the community itself, rebuilding families, because that's one thing you have to do. But I think Umar Suleiman is really doing a really good job with that. And he's learning, he's growing, he's young, and he has my full complete. So Umar Suleiman and Shadid Mohammed are doing an excellent job.
Brother Hanif, you mentioned something just a second ago about one seed could spoil a bunch or bring division, right? Not too long ago. And I feel so much testament to that being Christian in America when you look at the different denominations in Christianity, right? One person has a difference and then everybody has a difference and they build the Methodist church, from the Methodist church to the Baptist church, to the Baptist church to the Southern Baptist, to evangelical, to, you know what I mean? So like, to me, being on the outside or being involved, but seeing kind of like a lot of the division that is America today, it frustrates me. You know what I'm saying? It frustrates me because that shouldn't be the case, right? But you hit it right on the nail when you mentioned that about one thing can ruin everything and bring massive division, you know. And one thing I respect and I see just with Mazzi, you know, and just speaking to you and a couple of my Muslim brothers, is just that this unification is peace. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not divide. You know what I mean? Like what the media depicts. You know what I mean? The country, we lack literacy, right? Then we lack media literacy, and then damn well if we like those, we're gonna totally lack social media literacy. Mm-hmm. So we're already at a disadvantage. You know what I mean? Because we're lacking of knowledge. Back to what I was mentioning earlier. So I think us brothers like us, we doing our best, and why we're doing this episode is for people to have some knowledge, to challenge those. You know what I'm saying? To become literate of things, you know what I'm saying? Understand what's in front of you, question it. Don't have to sit around and poke holes in something or rush to my opinion, what I think. It's like your opinion is antiquated. Like your opinion only matters if you choose to listen.
Yeah. So let's look at let's look at what a great point you made. So let's look at last year, what happened to our summer last year with George Floyd, right? That's what unification looks like, and that literally it just shook it shook the world, right? I want you to think about something for a minute. The LGBTQ community was supporting George Floyd. The Christians was supporting George Floyd. The Jewish, but you never seen a march that said this is the LGBT community supporting George Floyd. This was just our humanity coming together. Even though they were amongst ourselves, you did not care who was there. And even when you look overseas with our brothers and sisters from, it's a very famous picture from Palestine, and in Arabic it says Hurriya, and Hurriya means freedom, right? And so that's written on the wall. So when you have that level of unity, it was no way possible that they was going to let that cop walk, because they said they're really going to light this place on fire. I mean, he has to be convicted. We can't have that level of unification, because that's one thing that get us to a level of financial freedom, to everybody get a fair opportunity, because everybody does not have a fair opportunity. But for everybody to get a fair opportunity, when you have that level of unification, look how powerful that was. I mean, think about for a minute. We are literally sick emotionally. We're homesick from being in the house from COVID. That was our medication. And the medicine was that unification. And so I think that is a prime example of what happens. And then, you know, just about a year later, you know, the officer is or the ex-officer, he's put on trial. The white supremacist is put on trial, and they said he has to be convicted. It's no way possible that he can walk, because these people are not going to. We've seen, because you have to understand, we were on the brink. There were some things that happened, but we didn't really turn up how we really wanted to turn up. We were patient, we were balanced. COVID was happening. We were still waiting for Trump to give us our money. It was a lot of things that was keeping us back, because Trump didn't drop that bag. We wanted to drop a few more bags. He didn't drop the bag the way we wanted him to. So we were waiting for that. So we didn't turn up the way we were supposed to. But at the same time, we got it was forward progress. I wouldn't call it justice, but it was forward progress.
Sure.
Hanif, can you recall? I mean, I know you have many moments like this, or you have had many moments like this, but can you recall a moment where you went to speak to youth, or maybe a neighborhood, or a group of people where you were able to douse the fire of Islamophobia to them and really explain in a successful manner. Like give me one of your favorite success stories.
I think I was at Vanderbilt University, a university that I love so much. I mean, I went there 7 consecutive years. They kept inviting me back, and we talked about Islamophobia. And one of the professors there, he was, I guess, the director of religious studies. He had asked me a few questions, just in general about Christianity, and I told him some of the similarities. And it was really, really cool. As a result of that, I gave a Friday sermon, and one of the football members who is now, he's now on the Jacksonville Jaguars now, he was just texting me the other day. He became Muslim at that Friday sermon. So so you have stories like that really just, and it's not nothing that I can tell you that I said, right? It's just the interaction. Like they say, you know, the way you was dressing, we didn't think that people, and I want to say religious in quotations, were like your language, like the way you was speaking to us, like how you quoted Drake lyrics, like all of those things were a part of it. And say, you know what? This isn't someone who's just living in a cave and just reading the Quran. This is someone, again, who has his thumb on the pulse of the culture. And so it wasn't nothing specifically that I said, but it was at that moment where I was able to basically, you know, put out the fire of Islamophobia.
And what advice do you have? Because I've seen from the youth throughout the years, and you know, I had to come to a crossroad myself at some points and show restraint or control or patience. What advice do you give to the youth when they're encountered with Islamophobia or having to explain themselves? I've seen 2 scenarios for the most part. I've seen either they get enraged and lose their temper, or they get super soft and, like we said earlier, apologetic and you know, kind of like moonwalking backwards. So what advice do you give to the youth who are encountered with this?
I think we have to take the Jay-Z approach a lot of times. If 6ix9ine was to send Jay-Z a diss record, Jay-Z is not going to respond. And so it's not that Jay-Z doesn't feel he's disrespected. It's not that he doesn't feel like this is someone who I raised. I mean, this is essentially would be my cultural nephew, right? That's what 6ix9ine would be to Jay-Z. So I think that you in the Quran it says, you know, we should turn away from the ignorant, right? But at the same time, we need to educate those people too, because you have to understand that I don't know if there's any other religion that when people do something from that religion, they actually mention what that person is. For instance, if a Muslim was to, you know, rob a bank, right? They would say Muslim man robs banks. It's not going to say Christian man robbed a bank. You don't see that. And so I think it's very, very important for them to know, like, listen, they're looking at you and there's almost 3 billion Muslims and they're going to put that stamp on you. And the media has been very, very successful of manipulating the narrative when it comes to that. If you look at a lot of these Islamic experts that are, I don't even know what an Islamic expert is, right? I just don't know what it is. But anyway, you have them on Fox News and you have on all of these different other media platforms, an Islamic expert. You say, wait a minute, you don't really have a scholar on there speaking. You don't know somebody that understands the language, understands the text and what you're reading. You don't have that. So I think that when they encounter it, I want them to feel, because that's who they are. They're a human being. I definitely want them to feel, but I want them to make a logical decision how they respond. And I don't want them to compromise. I don't want them to do the Michael Jackson moonwalk at the Motown, 50th anniversary or whatever. I don't 25th anniversary, right? I don't want you to do that, right? I want you to perform, and I don't want you to moonwalk. I want you to go towards a crowd. Be Busta Rhymes in this case. Go towards the crowd and animate the crowd. But at the same time, I want you to have your stage presence, and I don't want you to go, crazy, right? But at the same time, be balanced. You're going to feel for it. But also, I want to make sure that nobody is crowding your space, because you have a right to defend yourself if it gets violent, because we have a lot of that now happening, especially, in different rural parts of the country. So other than that, I think that, unapologetic, don't compromise, be balanced, and be focused.
Nah, that's powerful, man. Mazzi, man, I think we dropped a gem today, man.
I mean, we dropped the whole treasure chest.
I know. Boom. Nah, man, we could talk about these things for hours, man, and I'm excited to get a chance to get to know you, bro, brother Hanif. We truly appreciate you just taking the time out of your evening to chop it up with us, you know, educating us, educating our listeners as well. And you know, if there's any closing notes or anything that you want to say, brother Hanif, to close out.
Yeah, first of all, that shirt right there is a classic, man. You gotta see where you gotta tell me where you got that from. That's like
we got a bunch of them.
I got a bunch of vintage wrestling tees, man.
We're 80s babies, so you know that's our culture, and that we created everything that was cool. So even the jewelry that they're wearing now, as they bring them back to medallions, and you know that's our era. You know what I mean? So that's really cool. But just wanted to tell you, you know, you have so many cool Muslims out there. You have Raz Rashid, who's an artist. He has an album coming out on November the 1st. It's called Coach Rise. So make sure y'all drop in with that. I want you all to just make sure that you're tapping in. And more importantly than anything, make sure that unity is there for you. And just be more kind to each other as human beings. And I also want to thank DefJam. I think I need to say this. You know, I spent my entire life, DefJam raised me. And it's such a privilege for you, Brother Joe, for you, Brother Mazzi, my Muslim brother, to be on this platform, and for me to even be saying DefJam as I was coming downstairs to log on, I started to think about Russell Simmons, and I started to think about the history of it, and this is history, right? And I started to think about the people who built this very platform that we're on right now. So I'm super grateful to be on here, and I'm happy to be a part of this podcast.
Thank you, so man. Much, man. Happy to have you. It's an honor, my brother, man. And you're welcome back at any time. And please feel free. It's an open door policy for you. You know what I mean?
Thank you very much, Brother Joe. You brilliant, man. Thank you so much. Thank you to both of y'all. Thank you.
Nah, for sure, brother. Drop them social media handles. Everybody got them, brother.
Definitely. Social media handles at Hanif J. Williams _ HANIF J. Williams. That's an underscore at the end. Everything else is Hanif J. Williams straight through. I don't know what happened with Instagram. There is no Hanif J. Williams, but apparently they won't let me have the name. So it's underscore at Hanif J. Williams _ I do come to places to speak. I stopped it for like 2 years because there were just too many people coming. But if you want to have us come to your platform, whatever, to speak, most of the time it's completely free. I don't charge people for anything. If you want to give a donation to our organization, that's fine. Muslim Minds can. I also have a club on Clubhouse, which is a nonprofit organization called Muslim But Human. We have some real cool conversations there. But other than that, Hanif J. Williams _ hit me up, send a DM, and I'll make sure that I get right back to you.
Word.
Awesome, man.
Yo, JO, man, this has been another episode of Best of Both Offices, B.O.B.O. You know what I mean? How we do, brought to you by DefJam Recordings. Yo, here we go, man. Another season, another reason. Let's get it.
Let's go, man. Peace and blessings be with you all. Peace, man.
Peace.